Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And I was close on time today. It was close, but no Cupid doll, as they would say in old-timey fictional fairs or whatever. Oh, shit. Why am I not muted? There we go. Now I'm muted. All right, guys, we're going to be joined by Joe in a little bit. Hold on. Sorry. Join when you can. Mondays we've been trading off. I mean, a lot of Mondays we haven't, but we kind of have this idea that we'll trade off guesting on each other's shows on Mondays. And so we're continuing that for now. And I was on his show last Monday. He's on this show today. So we'll be very happy when Joe shows up and he can set us all straight, as opposed to gay for Pride Month. Speaking of that, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but my good friend Megan Fox has been completely and utterly demonetized on YouTube, allegedly because she discussed this thing called Pride Month and maybe offered a little bit of criticism of Pride Month. Now, I don't know if you guys know Megan Fox, not that one, but the other one. She's really cool. She's a professional writer, I guess, for PJ Media. She comments on all sorts of issues. She's written at least a book, maybe more books. I don't know how many books. Stephen Gosney is on a friggin' speed run of book writing records, but that's besides the point. Megan, she's been doing this forever, this commentary in sort of the conservative media space for quite some time. And she's really smart. But one thing she is not a harasser or a bully. I've never really seen her go after anyone in any way that would be even remotely offensive. Literally just offering commentary and critique on social issues, as one does. And it appears that alone is sufficient for YouTube to completely demonetize her channel. Not just the video. I want to be very clear on that. It's not like one video didn't get monetization. All of it's gone. So, kind of crazy how that worked out. I've put out she put out a tweet about it. I put out, I retweeted it with my own little spin on it. Hopefully YouTube will reconsider that decision, because I mean, if we cannot offer reasonable opinion about mainstream political issues, then what is the actual point? Like, just tell us that we must lick the taint of the Pride community. Like, just say it so we know, because it's not against the rule to be critical of Pride or it's not against the rules to be critical of homosexuality or to offer an alternative proposition to the fact that homosexuality is the greatest thing to ever happen to mankind, or that transgenderism is the most wonderful event that a person can go through in their life. Like, people can have different opinions on that. It's fine. And unless they can't, and if they can't, they could just tell us, so we know. So we can just say, actually, just trans everybody. That'd be fine. Because if we all switched, then it's like we're all the same, we just keep the surgeons really busy, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's a weird situation. They happen from time to time. Sometimes YouTube will come out and say they made a mistake. Part of the reason for that mistake is that Joe is here already. That's the reason for the mistake. What's up, buddy?
Hey.
How you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Happy 31st birthday.
Oh,
by the
that's
way.
so kind of you. I mean, you're dating me a little bit there, but I
Oh,
appreciate.
it's 28th. Sorry, 28th birthday.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. I felt really bad missing your birthday
You
stream,
should.
by the
You're
way.
a crappy human being.
Joe.
No, I sit here.
know.
I come here for like 3 hours every 2 weeks, and it's like you can't stop him for 10 minutes. No, 10 minutes.
No, wasn't even 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I wasn't around. I mean, I was around. I was like asleep all day. I didn't go on any other shows. I didn't do my movie stream. It's not like I was like, well, I'm going to just blow Joe off.
Right.
And
Because
then do whatever I want to do. I didn't do that.
All right. That's true. That's something.
But yeah, I was just talking about Megan Fox and what happened.
Oh my God. Was that terrible?
Yeah.
What the hell? What the hell?
Although
I remembered something which gave me a little heart.
What's
gave me
that?
a little heart. So
a little
around
Grinch heart.
No, it gave me like some solace that I think she should try to muddle through. I know that she made a short 2-minute goodbye stream.
Yeah.
Or video or whatever. And I think there might be a mistake. The reason I think it might be a mistake is because back when I was looking to get monetized and I was rejected on my first application to be monetized and very disheartened and concerned I would never get monetized. So a YouTube content creator out there who at the time went by the name Robert Gruler, he now since then he changed his name to Robert Gouveia.
Yeah, great dude. Fantastic.
Amazing. Like seriously, I will never forget what he did for me because like he literally I saw that he had been demonetized.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I want to continue doing this because I don't know that I'm ever going to get monetized. And he spent 2 hours on the phone encouraging me and telling me, you know, you have great content, you should keep producing and whatever, and tell me how to plow through and how to try to work around it in order to get approval. And at the time, I was like, I don't know how do you survive like doing what you're doing and you're not getting any money from it. He's like, well, you get something from Rumble and stuff like that. And he said like he hopes that eventually it'll be revisited and he'll get his monetization back. And I think that you can't give up. It's frustrating. It's annoying. It's unjust. There's no justification for it, and it's unjust. Like there's a lack of justice in two different ways. But you know, that's the challenge I think that she has to try to deal with, and I think that eventually she'll be rewarded for it if she keeps plowing forward. So I would not advise her to just throw in the towel and say she's done.
It's yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call, but I whatever she chooses, I completely understand the sentiment, right?
Oh, of course.
Like because
that's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt when they rejected me from monetization. I'm like, why am I going to do this?
Yeah, it's like trying to walk up an icy slope with only socks, right? Like, and you constantly just sliding and trying to get uphill, and then all these things are there to set you back. And when it's like, well, you're completely demonetized now, it's like, oh, thanks. Now,
and then for you, they'll throw fog on because they don't want you to even know where the pitfalls are.
Right. It's
which
just
is
like
that
harassment and bullying.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Meg, like, who is she harassing and bullying?
Zero. Nothing.
It's crazy. Because see, so one thing for people to understand, and we're not going to talk about this forever. It's a good topic while we waited for Joe, and now he's here and can contribute also to that topic. So it's perfect. Mm-hmm. But what you have to understand is that YouTube's harassment and bullying policy allows for criticism of protected groups. Where it comes in as bullying and harassment is when you target an individual member of a protected group on the status of that protective group in a derogatory way. So like dropping the F slur at Milo Yiannopoulos or Joe Biden for being gay would be like a violation of the terms ostensibly. Although I don't think they would care if you did it to Milo, just Joe Biden because he's the gay in chief. But like it'd be something like that, or really going after a trans person, like being extremely rudely critical of their, I guess, of their gender dysphoria or something like that, but without using any sort of mitigating terms or language. And it's really hard to actually get to the point of bullying and harassment in some ways, and it's really easy in others. But it really focuses on the individual nature of the criticism or commentary.
Which
Like,
you can understand that, because that's what makes it harassing. You can't
Right.
harass an entire group. It's like me versus like 100,000 people. I'm harassing all 100,000 because I make a generic comment about it. Doesn't make any sense. But an
Right.
individual, I can definitely, you can see how, you know, one person can easily bully another person. That's not hard to visualize at all. It's very frustrating. It's aggravating.
Right. And it's not it's not harassment to be critical of someone, even if the thing you're criticizing is within that protected status. I saw someone mention Keffels. I think they were joking. Keffels is a notorious trans activist and groomer, and criticizing Keffels' activity is unrelated to criticizing Keffels as a trans thing. And what you'll notice about my commentary about Keffels from back in October when I got banned from YouTube forever wasn't actually bullying and harassment towards Keffels. That wasn't the issue. And the reason is because I never actually did any bullying or harassment of Keffels within their protected status. That's a completely different thing. I was criticizing actions, words, and tweets from Keffels. And then I was falsely reported for making death threats, which didn't actually occur. So that's kind of how that plays out. That's sort of the interplay there. But if you were talking,
so if you had some Jew on and you were making fun of them for being all into about like money and like having a big nose, that would potentially be harassment.
How do you make fun of someone for being into money and having a big nose? I love both of those things. I like money. Yeah, I mean, it could be. If it could be.
That's
like
what I'm saying. I'm closer to being a victim of Nick's harassment than anyone is of Megan Fox's harassment.
Like if I had a different Jew on, and I said, "You look a little ashy today."
Yeah.
Auschwitz camp did you go to? Right? Like that would be that would be harassing. I just made that up on the spot. That was an okay effort. I think.
Yeah, that really was.
But yeah, it's really about the targeted nature of individual people for their protected status. I can't imagine Megan was actually engaged in that activity on her video. I mean, it does not seem like it. But what I was getting to right before Joe so rudely interrupted by joining the stream politely was that part of the problem is that YouTube outsources a lot of its community guideline moderation to countries where English is not the native language. And English is a predominant language on YouTube. So the issue that you have is a non-native English speaker will be using either a translation app or they'll be, utilizing their English as a second or third language sort of ability and missing context. They'll miss idiomatic expression. They will miss metaphor or simile that is happening, or even miss sarcasm and things like that. And you can get these sort of false hits on them. So that's why I'm hoping that Megan can get like a second look at her channel, because like, even if you don't want YouTube to be your primary thing, everybody wants to be rewarded in some small way for making something and putting in effort. And that's the real kicker, is when you get demonetized, it's like, well, I guess why should I even try now becomes sort of your default mode for a little bit until you kind of get over it. So anyway.
And I think that's probably intentional. I think they want to discourage.
Yeah, I think so.
And this is why I keep pushing everyone over to my locals, because I'm like, I know that I'm going to be, that one day I'm just going to wake up and the party on YouTube is going to be over.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why you hooked up with Rumble, and that's why we're outsourcing in different directions, because I need to, ultimately, if I'm feeding my family on this, and I need to make sure that I'm not subject to the whims of some lunatic who's ESL and has a directive to try and scrutinize me as harshly as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And that is the thing. So again, to you guys out there, if you like a particular creator, you have a little pocket change to spare, We appreciate any support that we get anywhere. It's a lot of people will apologize if they like do a $2 super chat or something. It's like, never apologize. You didn't have to send anything. We appreciate every single penny that people send us, because all of that comes together to help us.
It's more than that. We appreciate every eyeball, even people who never pay any money. The eyeballs alone, and it's not because of the 100th of a cent that each eyeball represents. It's nothing to do with that at all. But especially if they sit in the chat and they contribute there, the more it does help with the algorithm. People who hit like and subscribe, it helps that other people who maybe have more of an entertainment budget are more likely to find us, and in that sense, your very presence here ends up contributing. So every one of you is valued.
I was gonna get around to that, but I was just saying, like, if you have the drive to support creators financially, obviously we appreciate stuff through the YouTube platform, but certainly we also appreciate Rumble, Locals, Patreon, whatever any creator has, and it means the world to us when people watch, and it means the world to us when people are able to contribute to what we do, and it helps us make more and more. So thanks a bunch for that, and just a little note to support the creators that you enjoy. I mean, that's ultimately the entire purpose of like building independent economies, is to actually allow the content that you enjoy to be made the most effective ways, and to be made for the longest, rather than some corporate asshole deciding shitty sitcoms and crappy reality TV for you to watch over and over and over.
Indeed.
Hey, what's up, Ethan Van Sciver? How you doing, buddy? We got to talk soon, man. It's been way too long. Again, why do you do this to me every single time? So anyway, so I got a bunch of different topics today, Joe.
Let's do it.
Did you hear there was a coup in Russia?
Yeah, the Wagner troops.
Definitely, like a real one.
Yeah, sort of.
Big coup.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know if I call it big coup.
No, it's very, what was like, it's big coup. It's like big media, big coup, right?
It was more like an SUV. It was, I don't know if it was like.
So we're gonna talk about that. That's on the menu. I figured in honor of Megan Fox, we would talk a little bit about Pride, and the nature of the Pride movement, Pride Month. Now it's a Pride Summer, according to that weirdo government person, right?
I will say on the coup thing, by the way, if it happens in Ukraine, everyone can say that they did not see that coming.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Today was also closing arguments in the Parkland Cop trial. And I didn't watch the closing arguments. I didn't even know that guy was on trial until like today, when I was scrolling through YouTube and saw a couple people streaming it. And I was like, oh, what's he on trial for? And so then I was looking and I was like, that's kind of shifty. Like this idea that he could be tried for the crimes. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the guy's a scumbag, but I wanted to talk to you about the crimes, the criminal charges associated with this Parkland cop who did not intervene in the Parkland school shooting. And from a legal perspective, because there's some kind of interesting questions there that I think we should talk about. And then did you see that video of the Chicago, the mom who was being punched? And she told her 14-year-old son to go grab the gun from the car, and he comes back and he blasts the guy, and the guy runs off. And then she tells the kid to chase him down. He chases the guy down, shoots him, and kills him while he's running away.
14-year-old.
Yeah. The 14-year-old is the son who did the shooting. The guy who he shot was a grown man who was punching his mom in the face.
Oh, that to me, that raises a lot of interesting legal questions also.
It does, and they dropped the charges.
And they're black.
Joe.
Was that wrong for me to assume?
I just figured, I didn't know you had read the story. That's all. I just didn't know. You didn't tell me you had read the story in advance.
Because I'll tell you right now. It's like, the American in me is like, yeah, go get him. But the attorney in me is like, oh no, that might not just be criminal time for him, but arguably the mother too.
Oh yeah, and she was charged. She also left this out. There was a woman who was laughing while she was getting punched in the face, and she told the kid to shoot her and kill her too. The kid refused to do that.
Yeah.
So,
It's good. It's good. It's very important to have healthy role models. So
yeah, right. So
I mean, Ethan Crumley's parents are being charged, and this mom is not being charged.
nor is the kid. I mean, which is tough because, I mean, like, look, I'm with you. Like, yeah, the American in me, the independent self-defense person in me says, yeah, we should blast this. But when you look at other people who are charged with these crimes, you're like, I mean, this seems to have been beyond the zone of danger.
Yeah.
The encounter's over. Now it looks like a murder when you say, go kill that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds murderous to me.
Yeah. And just to draw the picture, if it happened like 45 minutes later, can you not understand how that's definitely murder? So the fact that it's happening 30 seconds later doesn't really fix it. Really fix it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I grabbed a couple other stories that just popped up after I made the stream.
You can't show that. You can't show that video on YouTube. You have to wait till
Rumble
time.
Yeah, we'll do that on Rumble.
No.
There's two other stories that we might get to, and we don't have to get to all of this. This is just stuff I grabbed. But Wade Robson, the Michael Jackson accuser, who also was the guy who was dating and banging Britney Spears for a while. He did the dance video instructions and stuff. His trial against the Michael Jackson Corporation is going forward. It was initially dismissed, but now he is suing the Michael Jackson Corporation because you can't sue Michael Jackson. Well, yeah, he's gone. Like, you can't really sue him.
The estate has probably been divested by now, I imagine.
Yeah, but there's a company that manages
continually churning out money.
Yeah, and so he's suing the company, and it was initially dismissed, and now the appeals court in California has said it can move forward with the lawsuit. So that's an interesting sort of one, and hopefully, I want that to be that would be an interesting trial to watch, I think. And then the other one I grabbed was just on Twitter a second ago. It was a guy who was like a guy getting arrested at a park, and he was threatening a family with a knife. He's got a knife out. He says, you need to die or something. So they called the police, and the police come and arrest the guy because you can't pull a knife out and threaten, tell someone they need to die. That is just not an advisable thing. And the guy who called the police comes and starts complaining and crying that the police are arresting this poor innocent youth of particular demographic. He's like, I don't want to, he's going to think I'm racist. Oh God, it's so funny. So we got to watch that.
Definitely.
We got to watch that
definitely. One. I got to pin that to the top of my Twitter feed.
Yeah. I'll send you the link. That's a good one. Maybe we should just open with that. Should we just start there?
Yes.
Chat, we'll start there.
Yes.
Okay. Let me
when you're reading off the list of things to cover, that's the first one that I'm like, oh, I need to be awake for this one.
Yeah. So let me hit, there's a couple super chats to hit, and then we'll do that. Over on Locals, Freedom 1982 says, it's my birthday. Will you give me a toast to my 41st birthday in Kermit's voice? Make it funny, lol, Racket. Thanks, Rackets. Okay, I guess. Kermit the Frog, Joe. My Kermit the Frog sounds like actually the love child of Kermit the Frog and Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
It's not like
it's hard to distinguish that.
Yeah.
Kermit.
I see benzos and blue. Oh, sorry, JP. To Freedom 1982, a happy birthday. It's 41 years, which is almost as old as the last time I was relevant. So very happy to see you around. You're kind of getting up there in years, but don't worry, because as a woman, you don't have to worry about problems associated with age.
That's so not true. Oh, happy birthday. I'm like, who's in
There's
the
one
chat
that's
there?
true. happy birthday to Freedom 1982. Hope
Happy
you enjoy
birthday,
it.
Freedom.
Mm.
Robert Barnes in the chat there.
Hey, what's up, Robert Barnes? He says, what about Arizona prosecutor threatening a search warrant on Hunley if he doesn't give up his sources on the Baldwin case? Okay,
what?
So I had only tangentially seen bits of this as like notifications came up in a group, but I didn't know the whole situation. But yeah, apparently they're going after Eric Hunley to try and get his sources. I hope he tells them to kiss his anus because he's a journalist. Like, we're all journalists. And before anybody gets like their head up about much, if you convey news and information in a serious way or even a semi-serious way from one person to another, you are, under most journalistic shield laws, a journalist for the purposes of that discussion. And you do not have to disclose your sources. I mean, the whole point of it. But the more and more people you do talk to, and the bigger that disclosure becomes, and especially if you commercialize it and monetize it, I mean, that's what those laws are designed to protect. Your ability to gather information in confidence from the person giving it to you, that you won't be forced to divulge it and you won't burn them. I mean, that's your entire journalistic credibility is based on your not doing that. So I'll be looking into it. Maybe I've been looking for a great reason to bring Eric Hunley onto the show. So maybe
he
this
just
is
gave you one right there.
Yeah.
Eric's never going to give you a better reason to bring him on. That's great. It's
great fantastic. Story. And so we'll probably be talking to him. At least I'll be talking to him in the background, but maybe we'll talk to him in the foreground in the very near future and get some more information on that. This is just a government flex. You go after someone you think you can, threaten them, and hopefully, he'll stand firm. And I know he's got a lot of great people who'd be happy to support him in that fight. And I will definitely make fun of the Arizona, what was it, the district attorney, the Arizona prosecutor. I'll make fun of him constantly, forever, just because you don't do that bullshit. You don't mess with people disseminating information. You can't go after their sources. I know you really want to, but too fucking bad. And Alec Baldwin isn't worth protecting in that way. Like this, it's not a state secret. It's just Alec Baldwin's case, and who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who cares what the source is?
Yeah.
So New Mexico, whatever, Arizona. I don't know where. I don't know which one it was.
What was he threatened with? Like what
I believe like threatened with a search warrant or something like that to try and force him. So he's on Runkle's show right now. Well, cool. I will talk to I'll talk to Hunley and see if he has a good time to come on. Okay, a couple more. Tankrat says, hey, Joe, did Megan Fox get demonetized for playing the clip from Joe Rogan and RFK Jr. talking? Another YouTuber, Luke, who was on Timcast, had his channel demonetized for playing that clip. No, my understanding was it was in reference to Pride stuff. That's what she indicated.
I think that's where her focus has been.
Yeah. And
it doesn't seem as if that would fit into, they would come up with a different label other than harassment. It would be something else. If it was the RFK thing, it would have been something else. It would have been dissemination of misinformation about medicine or something like that. It wouldn't be harassment. So likely it's not that. Yeah,
that's what I think too. I agree with that. Tankrat says, okay, my first question was answered before the stream started. So a certain march chanting, "We are coming for your children," is not so concerning that the criticism will not be allowed. YouTube overlords are biased. Yeah, it was there was a transgender march or something that said, like, "We're here." Was it like, "We are here, we are queer, we're coming for your kids," or something like that? It's fucking weird. It's weird. This routine thing of like joking that they're coming after the children, of people who are very concerned that these groups are coming after the children.
It's not a joke.
Right. Well, I know, but they play it off like it's like, haha, we're just trolling you. And it's like, but yet you're not, though. Like, that's the thing. You're not trolling. You actually are putting activism into school classrooms. You're trying to force these issues into public libraries with specifically children's events. This is what you're doing.
Not simply normalizing, which had been the old school method, celebrating as being superior. where it's like if you're a loser kid, like you're someone who's looking to find your way, and you feel, you know, you're not naturally charismatic, you don't have friends, you're not cool, you're not good looking, and you're just trying to struggle, especially as you're approaching your teen years and entering your teen years,
Right.
that you are now told, hey, if you want to get a whole group of people to celebrate you as being special, and you always have questions about, like, you're struggling with different things, this is a way for you to just jump on top of that social ladder, and we're going to have all these people talk about how you're such a phenomenal person because you're embracing all these different changes in your life. And that's the celebratory nature of it is what makes it so completely insidious and dangerous, particularly to children or prepubescents who are in that mindset. Because let's face it, how many of these kids who they start grooming is like the cool jock? It's not that often. They're usually the kids who are a little bit weird, a little bit socially awkward, and they're the ones who all of a sudden just, like, surprise, surprise, I have new pronouns. Like, it's like, oh wow, like now I'm special because I have new pronouns, and when they start getting when they use that flex and start getting some positive PRs, and then they just bury themselves deeper and deeper into it, even if it's got no basis in their own mindset in any sort of real way.
Well, and part of the reason that that kids are vulnerable to this is a couple different things. One, children are particularly susceptible to influence. It's why they learn really well. It's why they learn complex things really quickly, whereas adults start to build up walls or traumas or something that prevent us from absorbing certain types of information in certain ways. Languages, music, things like that are really good examples of this, and also cementing our identity. But when children have that sort of wide open mind, anyone with enough trust that the child has will have a straight shot right into the deeper parts of their psyche, and they can imprint influence and ideas into those kids, which is why they make really strong bonds with friends. For example, when you're younger, you can make friends that will last a lifetime. When you're older, it's much harder to make and maintain the same types of friendships that have the sort of same almost sibling-like connections. But they do this because their minds are wide open, and they're suffering often from crises of identity of one sort or another. Like Joe said, they might be socially awkward. They might be in an awkward phase of pubescent growth where their body is not feeling the way it was and not feeling the way it will. And those things are just open doors for the idea that actually the feelings that you have are not related to natural biological processes that your body is working through. They're just because you are actually something else on the inside. And that's the confusion that you're feeling. That's why your feet are too big or whatever. Like all of those things that we learned in sex ed about what was coming are now converted into into these actual issues of gender identity. And that's why it's so problematic for so many parents to see this stuff coming into schools, because they know their children are vulnerable to that sort of influence.
It's stupid. And you hit on something else that I never thought of until you just mentioned the trust factor, particularly when you're talking about kids who, like, let's say 8 years and under, they're constantly seeking validation from an older demographic. They tend to trust their teachers far more than once
they're told to. They're told to over and over. Like, this is
trust your teacher, exactly.
Right.
And seeking approval from the teacher. So when you have libs of TikTok exposing these kindergarten teachers, first grade teachers who are sitting there telling them, like, and what are you, where they're asking the child to start defining their own pronouns, which they don't even know what the hell the teacher's talking about, and start suggesting alternatives to each child, because now we're celebrating and you're so diverse and you're so, and that's what makes you, like, so important. They're literally poisoning these kids' minds. And under the ridiculous delusion that they're helping these children rather than completely screwing them up forever.
Right. And yeah, that teacher trust issue. I ranted about this the other day, so we're gonna pass the torch on to the next chat in just a second. But that teacher trust issue is one of the one of the most well-meaning and ultimately insidious things that we've been doing to children in regard to teachers over the past several decades. The teachers are the educators. We want to believe that our teachers should be trusted with these children. And so we tell children that they're trustworthy. We put them in a place where they are the instructor, and then they can instill whatever instruction they want. You can't, like, you're not in control of it. I mean, you can try little things, but if they just go off on a tirade, like, the kids are going to listen, and they have that built-in trust. And that makes it really, really dangerous. And that's why, parents do need to keep on top of this stuff, and do need to make sure they're guarding their children's educations. Jim Satala says, turns out that guy, this is the guy beating the woman, was the mom's ex-boyfriend. The other woman that was laughing was his new girlfriend. Highly suspect. Locals double charged me. Now I have 2 one-year subscriptions, and I still don't have a diamond. That's getting grifted, baby. Take that. Take that. Spicy Pizza. Have you seen the Illuminati hired a PI to investigate CB2? He tried to warn her about a predator in Discord, but he was banned. The P was going after a 15-year-old. The predator was going after a 15-year-old. RE Legal Eagle copyright drama. No, I have no idea anything about that. I don't know. I don't even know who CB2 is. But no, I'll have to look into it. And Robert Barnes says Hunley refused. So the New Mexico district attorney said she would use a search warrant, likely on his phone service provider. She's trying to evade subpoena shield rules. Oh, that is fun stuff. Well, hopefully she doesn't get it. There's no reason that she should. She should not have any access to that. It is not illegal to get information about a case. Like, it's just not, especially about Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
There are very few things that it would be illegal to receive information on, because it may be illegal for someone else to disclose it, but there are very few things that it would be illegal to receive information on. And you don't get to just execute a search warrant on someone who may have received that information because they didn't commit a criminal act. So you're not finding evidence of their criminal act in executing that search. So we'll have to keep a watch on that. Master Lion says, hi,
I mean,
everyone.
just think, like, what do you put in the affidavit of probable cause as to why you need a search warrant there? I mean, what do you even put in there? Like, probable cause of what crime?
Yeah. I can't figure it out, especially in regards to this case. I don't even know what Eric said about it or what information there was that they're really concerned about, but it doesn't really matter because this isn't a case involving state secrets. It's not a case involving some sort of classified information that could be, like, or some sort of government whistleblower thing. Even though receiving that information is not illegal. Disseminating that information very well might be, but receiving it is not. And you can't go after people who receive information from a source in that way. There's no criminal act involved there. So one last thing, big thanks to Camelot for rating the show, and welcome to Camelot viewers. I heard you had a good show with Lofty, which means I know you have a paid shill in chat, because there is no show with Lofty that's actually good. All right, here we go. Let's get on to this video. This video is just under it's a minute and a half. It's a minute and a half long. So here, let me make sure we got volume. All right, here we go.
He was arrested and charged with simple assault and terroristic threats. Following his arrest, he was transported to the DeKalb County Jail.
Let's go to the squad car, please. Okay,
Why is it happening? I'm being arrested?
Yes.
For what?
For what?
I'll be with you in just 1 second.
Okay, real quick. Someone in the chat asked, what is a simple assault? I'm not sure what state this is in and how they define it, but typically a simple assault is otherwise called a common law assault. And that's where you make a threat intended to instill apprehension or fear of imminent harm in someone. A simple battery would be an unwanted touching. So an assault is a violent act in that it causes fear or apprehension, but it's not actually involving a physical touch. An assault can be like throwing something at someone and missing. For example, any sort of act that is intended to instill fear or apprehension of imminent bodily harm is typically encompassed in a simple assault. So that's what they're referring to here. No physical contact took place. And my stream quality is down. Come on, pick it back up. I mean, maybe it's not down. It just says the connection's a little weird. We're going to keep going. Here we go.
But still, I will need for you to fill out a statement for him.
I don't want him arrested. I just want him to leave us
I
alone.
know, but he had a weapon on him, and it was terrorist threats.
Brandishing is not a crime with a knife. Brandishing is only a crime for a gun.
Terrorist threats, though, sir.
Because he said die to me?
Okay, I mean, listen to this. Joe. Brandishing with a knife isn't a crime. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Then like terroristic threats, though. What? Because he said die to me? Like that's a big deal. He's got a knife out and he says die. Like so. Jesus.
Oh my God! I'm never gonna be accepted in any parties anymore. Everyone's gonna think I'm a racist. I can't. That's why he's so freaked out.
Wait, Joe. Let's come.
And had his knife out?
All that was done. The threats, everything. Let me get a statement.
I thought you were going to arrest him. I wouldn't call. I just wanted to leave us alone.
I understand, but we still have a job to do.
Now he's gonna think I'm doing this because I'm white and he's black. Or he's homeless and I'm not. I don't want that.
But did he do what he did?
Yeah, but I don't want him thinking that I did it because he's in whatever situation he's in. I just
My man is crying. He's gonna think I did it because I'm white. He's black.
God.
While he's in jail. Why?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. How's he going to go back to his neighborhood of white people? They won't even let him in. You got a black man arrested. How dare you? Hey, there's 10 seconds left. Here we go.
just wanted to leave us alone.
I doubt that. I'll be right back, okay?
Why can't you just leave us alone?
I called the cops when I didn't want them to arrest.
I just didn't want to die. I wasn't looking for him to get arrested.
She was mad.
Oh my God.
You just wanted him to leave you. Why'd you want him to leave you alone?
Ladies, if you're looking for a man, this individual. This is what you have out there. This is what you have. I just wonder how it is. People say it's like so hard to date these days. Maybe it's hard to find a good woman. I don't know. I don't know anything about like the dating circles today. Yeah. This is your competition. I mean, this is, if you're a dude, this is your competition. This mindset. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just want to know why, if you don't want him arrested, why are you calling the cops? Like, I just wanted him to leave us alone. Well, why do you want him to leave you alone? Like, that's the question, right? Like, why did you want him to leave you alone? Because it's like, well, if brandishing isn't a big deal and saying die while holding a knife at you and your family isn't a big deal, then why are you calling the cops? Like, what's your reasoning here? Like, what's the skill?
Maybe he really that's the twist, is he really did call because he was racist. That's why. He wasn't really feeling threatened. He's like hates black people so much that he just couldn't stand the idea of another black man roaming the streets. I can't even, how do these people like function? Like how they twist, their brain is so twisted in knots. I mean, listen to this guy who literally, he could have, if he had said the wrong thing at that time, you think it's impossible that this guy would have literally been laying there, a corpse on the ground? But instead, he's sitting here crying, and they don't think like 10 minutes down the road, like, okay, so if you didn't call the cops, and if you don't press charges, what's this dude going to do tomorrow? Like, what's going to happen when he's trying to mug the next guy? But they never think about that at all.
Yeah, what's going to happen when he tries to mug the next guy? What's going to happen 5 minutes from now when you didn't call the cops, when you had that first feeling, right? Like we have these feelings that that well up. Those are our danger responses that are built over years and years of dealing with situations.
Yep.
And people will have different levels of them. But when you feel uncomfortable enough that you go, you know what I need right now is a government agent with a gun to come and stand between this person and me right now. Like that is your danger hackles rising, saying, okay. And if that's not happening, you shouldn't be calling the cops, right? Like, because if you're not in danger, you don't feel in danger.
He felt very threatened here. I mean,
of course he did. Of course he did.
Although to be frank with you, I mean, honestly, if this guy, it looks as if his ice cream melted, he would feel very threatened. So,
right, that's true. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the black guy took out a hairdryer and started melting his ice cream cone or something.
Or maybe the guy held his scissors to the cord of this guy's hairdryer. So he's like, he's like, give me your wallet, or I'm just gonna kill your hairdryer. No, God, please, no.
Give me your wallet, or the man bun stays wet. Speaking of man buns, what's up, Megan Fox and Stephen Gosney in the chat? How are you guys doing? Hope you're doing well. Steve, I got the copy of your third book that you sent me. Thank you very much. Can you like stop writing like 3 books? I've known you like 40 days. I've known him like 40 days. Like, look, Nick, I'm working on my 17th book. The other ones are on the publishing queue. It's like, oh my God, like, what do you do?
But he really is like one of the best finds you ever had.
He's awesome.
He's one of the best finds you ever had. That
well, it wasn't me. It was Bronca.
Bronca found him?
Yeah.
I thought he came on your stream.
We did, but Bronca told me to have him on.
Oh. Okay. Well, good job,
gets the credit.
All right. To hell with this guy. Great job, Bronca. Really. It was a great find.
Look, I'm not going to take credit that I didn't do, that I didn't earn. I mean, I'll take money for credit that I didn't earn, but I'm not going to take the credit itself. That's dishonest. Tankrat says a real man would have pulled his gun and told the youth to leave.
Yeah.
Could be, but see that's the converse side of this. The scary thing is, so that guy's actions and like his reaction is completely unjustifiable as like a dignified human or a dignified man, more specifically. However, you do have to consider that had he pulled the gun, he's actually almost in the right mindset there that he might be the one getting arrested.
No, that's not what would have happened. Come on. Did you listen to this dude? If he pulled a gun, the way he would have worded it is like, you better get away from me. And the guy would have grabbed the gun from him and shot him. That's what would have happened.
Well, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. But I'm saying there are plenty of people with apprehension about the I guess the politics of black versus white engaged in some sort of confrontation. I mean, you look at Daniel Penny and similar cases. So if he pulls the gun, he's got like this guy doesn't have a gun. I mean, his gun is made of soy. But if he were to pull a gun, he would have to be concerned that he would be the one arrested, even though the other guy was threatening him, just because of present day politics, which is insane. It should not be that way, but that's how it goes. That's
the reality of the world.
But yeah, you should still pull the gun until they got to fuck off. Like,
whoa,
get away.
Yeah.
So,
but this guy is never going to own a gun. Quite the contrary. He'll proudly say, I'll never own a gun. He's much more likely to say that than actually pull a gun. And he would never pull a gun on a black guy.
Right. Yeah.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't.
When would you?
Right.
Why would anyone do that? That'd be very dangerous.
Indeed.
Even Kyle Rittenhouse knew not to shoot the black guy.
Right. I gotta tell you something. You're making a subtle point here, but it's actually pretty important. No, if Jacob Rosenbaum was not white, if he was black, oh my God, this whole case becomes like a whole different thing. Because then there would have been chanting in the streets outside of Kenosha. I mean, there's still some chanting, but it would have been like crazy levels. You would have seen Maxine Waters out there saying, we gotta hang Kyle, and the jury would have started getting intimidated, and Yeah,
He
it
should have
could've been
called Kyle
disastrous.
Rittenhouse to solve this problem.
That's
That's what he should have done. But see, we know from evidence that Kyle Rittenhouse would have shot near the black guy but missed him.
That's true.
And we shot a different pedophile. That's what some random passerby pedophile would have gotten shot down by Kyle, but the black guy would have made it and just run off after jump kicking someone.
You know,
Very
it's
weird.
interesting because like back in the day, like 20 years ago, okay, they used to talk. There was a concept of like having gaydar, right?
Yeah, that's not 20 years ago. That's
No,
still
now it's too easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you just point and you found one, like,
right?
Automatically.
Right. Okay. But what I'm getting at is, wouldn't it be like awesome? Do you think there's such a thing as like pedo radar that you could be like that dude? Pedo.
Yeah, it's usually in the mustache, the vacant stare, and the like weird smile.
I don't think Camelot that's fair at all.
No, Camelot doesn't have that side smile.
It's the side smile.
Yeah, it's a combination. Like the mustache has to be like a 17-year-old's mustache, but on a 46-year-old man, right?
Okay.
Like where it's just like it's like too sparse and thin, and they've got like that weird half smile on one side of their face, and the other side of their face is dead from the trauma that they've caused other people, and they have that like weird stare where the like one eye is looking through the child that they're after to the child behind them, and then the other eye is like looking off to the side in case the government shows up. I can't really, you can see it. You can see the pedo smile. It's always got that little.
You think you have pedo radar? You can tell.
Oh yeah. I think you do too. You just don't. You maybe haven't encountered them very often, but trust me, yeah.
That's very possible.
Yeah. So the next time you're trying to find like the pedo radar or whatever, just go through the toy section at Target or whatever for like just spend an hour there and watch the guy that walks by with like his finger in his belly button, but through his shirt, like just kind of and looking down the aisles, but not walking down any of them if there's no kids around. Like that's, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you can spot them. Stay away from them.
I'll try now.
Well, you're probably not in danger.
Right.
I'm not calling you old. I'm just saying like you're an adult.
Right. No, I didn't take it. Until you said it that way, I didn't take offense.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you got the memo later anyway.
I'm just saying, because if you looked at like a picture of Rosenbaum, I don't know that you would have like. I'm saying is it seemed like he was like picking out the pedos. You know what I'm saying? So like you know that's how he picked out Rosenbaum first. But like I don't know that when you first looked at Rosenbaum, you would say that guy is a kid toucher.
Right. Well, see, the problem with Kyle is he was too young to have developed his pedo meter. Like, so, because he's still a child, so they don't always know. You got to be like a seasoned, grizzled adult. And so his was just I was going to say luck, but we know it wasn't luck. It was just playing the odds that if you shot someone at an Antifa rally.
At that crowd, yes.
Right, odds are
1 out of 3 are going to be a pedo.
1 in 3 chance of hitting a pedophile, and a 3 in 3 chance of hitting a felon. So it's fine.
You wouldn't think that the odds everything would have played out according to the statistics, but I guess probably 1 in 3 at that rally were pedos. That's pretty.
Man,
funny.
how did Kyle shoot all these criminals? Well, my favorite thing was the first time someone came in chat, and I think they super chat. It's like Joseph Rosenbaum died doing what he loved, chasing children, trying to touch them or trying to grab them. It's like, oh my god. It's perfect. Okay, should we talk about? I don't have a news story for the coup because like news stories about the coup are inherently ridiculous. Can we talk about the coup for a little bit? Like we don't have to do. This is not a long topic. Joe, was there a coup attempt in Russia? Did that act like was that a real thing or was that like not a real thing?
All right, so it sort of seemed like there was going to be a coup that just sort of fizzled along the way. So
I mean, it was less than 24 hours.
And they were 100 miles away from Moscow.
while at a time where the Russian military is completely otherwise occupied in a foreign country.
Right. That's true.
There's like,
they turned around when they were 100 miles from Moscow.
yeah.
I mean, that's like saying that, like, Justin Trudeau was justified in saying that, like, the truck rally was a coup. Like, I mean, I guess there's a little
like
more.
Did they send out a tweet? They're like, "We're gonna coup your ass." Like, we're gonna do a coup?
No, but here's the thing: have you ever heard of a coup where they literally like said, "Hey, we're heading towards Moscow. If you want to join, just join in." And it's like, we'll be passing by Voronezh like at 11 a.m. And so we're like, oh, okay. So I'm gonna be like, I'll be hanging out with the coup for an hour at 11 a.m. Then I'll be like, and I'll be playing chess I have a chess date this afternoon. It's like, that's not how coups work. I tend to think of coups as something that is orchestrated. There's a plan. There's a whole agenda and objective. They obviously had a rallying point that, and this guy, I'm never going to say the name right. You know his name?
Vodka.
Okay. Perestroika. So
yeah, I have no idea how to say any of these names.
It was something like that. Yeah. So Prejestan basically he was a general of some militant wing of the army called the Wagner Group, and basically he was mad. We still don't know why he was mad at Putin. Some people say he had insufficient arms or military the equipment that he was supposed to have. Supposedly he didn't like some of the generals that were running the operation in Ukraine. He had some issues there. Yeah. And he said that he's, heading to Moscow, and no one really knew what his intentions were. And a lot of people who support Ukraine, which is basically anyone who can make $1 off of Ukraine, was basically saying, oh, great, here comes Prenachenko to save the day and kill Putin for us. And apparently when he got like 100 miles away, this is what's weird. The president of Belarus mediated some sort of treaty between them.
Yeah, a non-prosecution agreement. So best let me add something to this. Best I understand. I'm not an expert on this stuff. You guys should definitely listen to like Robert Barnes has put out some really great stuff on this issue, like on Viva's channel and stuff. Joe and I watched 30 seconds of Robert Barnes's take, and then we just ended up talking about other stuff because while we love Robert Barnes, we got wrapped up in our own giant egos. But that being said, my understanding is this guy is like the head of the Wagner Group or whatever. They're a private military organization similar to like a BlackRock or something. That we have private military mercenary groups in the United States.
I looked at them like the Hessians, basically, in the Revolutionary War. Like, I think it's just like they're mercenaries.
Yeah. So, like, the idea was that that this guy says he was protecting his company, basically the private security company, in some way by marching on Moscow for a coup against Putin. But then, like, nothing happened, and it was really kind of conveniently timed. And then, you got this weird non-prosecution agreement. If you just go to Belarus, and that's fine. And like, that doesn't sound very Russian to me or very Putin-like. It sounds like Putin seems like the guy who that guy's fingers would end up in his family members' mailboxes or something.
And I still think they yet may. I still think when they say non-prosecution, it's like, yeah, okay, you all disperse. And then, like, one by one, they're just going to be picked up by the KGB and disappear. That's what I anticipate is going to happen to them.
Oh, I said BlackRock, but people are saying Blackwater. Yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. I'm still traumatized from the submersible imploding, so I don't talk about water right now. So, but yeah, so it's an interesting thing. I don't know. It seems very convenient. It seems like one of those things that would really serve Putin and Russia pretty well. Because it's like nothing bad happened from it. Right. They get some good propaganda. Russia ends up being strong. They're going to now purge the traitors and the bad speakers, but they're going to do it in a peaceful way. Apparently, like maybe the guy never makes it to Belarus, right? I don't know what happens, but the public statements around this thing seem very, very shifty to me. I don't trust it, but I haven't trusted, and this is why I don't talk about it very much. I haven't trusted anything about this damn Ukraine war
from either side.
Right. And it's certainly not from the U.S. government.
Right.
When we have accounting errors, just adding 6.2 billion to Zelensky's fortune.
Mistakes happen. Happen.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Is this the thing I don't get about that stupid accounting error? It's like there's an obligation that we have to find the maximum way to send as much money as possible. Like that's what essentially the accounting error. Maybe when they signed the bill, the accounting error was based on replacement value, not based on new value. Like maybe that's. I don't understand why it is that we have to interpret our own law in the way that's least economically efficient for our own country. This doesn't make any sense to me. It's like no. This is like someone saying, "What do you think? Ukraine's going to come and say no? The $113 billion you gave us, you freaking welchers, you used the wrong form of accounting. How dare you not give us
$120 billion?
Yeah, how dare you not give us another $6 billion? You stinking greedy." Americans, like who's complaining that they didn't get enough? Like, is Zelensky, did he write an angry letter to Biden saying, I can't believe that you welched on giving this to us? I don't understand anything about this. I don't understand anything about it. It's like we interpreted our own statute against ourselves for reasons that make no sense to anyone unless you're sitting there amongst the elites and basically getting your little kickback.
Right. Yeah. And that's the trick there. I think that's the ultimate answer to the question, is that what happened is that lawmakers passed a law that was going to give more money, and then they reported the amount of money that they were going to give, and then they gave more because of course they're going to just spend money whenever they can, but also it's like, oh shoot, this accounting error. But like you said, who was complaining about it? It's like you go to a video store, right? And you're like, oh, this movie's late. Here's the $10 late fee. And you return the movie and you give them $10. And then you go back home and you're like, actually, no, I had that an additional 17 months. It was actually $6.2 billion and $10. So you go back to the video store and you give them $6.2 billion. Like, I'm really sorry. I thought I had this movie 5 days past due. And it turns out this is the first movie ever made. And I rented it on the first day you opened. Along with every other movie, and never returned any of them. It doesn't make any sense. It's not like the video place called you up, and yeah, there's no one in Ukraine going now.
Imagine Elon promises $100 million donation to the ACLU, and then he gives them $95 million and $5 million worth of Twitter stock. And basically, by the time it transfers through to them, the stock loses value, so it's only worth $4 million. And now it's like, oh my God, I must give them another million. It's like you didn't have to give them anything. It was a pledge. It was a stinking pledge. You didn't have to give them anything. You gave them you sacrificed $100 million from your own pocket. At the time you gave it to them was $100 million. And it's like, no, we have to interpret this against us. So instead, we're going to make up for it by giving another $3 million in case there's a devaluation by the time it gets to you. It's like, what the hell's happening here? But that happens in Washington because it's not their money. It's your money. It's my money. It's your money out there. That's why, because that's why it happens, because they don't pay from their own pockets.
So it's interesting that you brought up the ACLU, because a friend of mine actually sent me. He's like, I might have a case for you to talk about soon. And this one was kind of interesting. There's a charity that had received something like $10 million from a large donor over several years. And in the past couple years, they've done stuff like send $100,000 to Drag Queen Story Hour or something like that. And the guy's like, whoa, I don't actually agree to this. This goes against my principles. So he stopped donating, and they're now suing him under a theory of pledged donations and I guess promissory estoppel. So the charity is going to try and sue this guy to force a donation to the charity, even though they're donating against the principles he was originally donating under. So,
obviously ACLU is on the side of.
Well, ACLU isn't. I don't know that they're involved in that at all. It was just you mentioned this idea of a pledge donation, and then not being sufficient. So now that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and sue to force a gift, a charitable gift from someone.
I don't really think I would like their position very strongly. It
No.
doesn't sound rooted in much theory of contract law that I learned. Maybe those theories have changed. But
Yeah, promissory estoppel typically involves a promise in exchange for a thing. And then you do the thing that the promise is based on, which this is consideration. This is contract law. So like, I promise to give you $10,000 when you graduate college. And then you go and you're like, well, I mean, if that's the case, well, yeah, then now I have an incentive to graduate college. Maybe it's like finish your last year or whatever. I have an incentive to graduate college that I wasn't going to do. Now I'm going to do it. It's going to cost me money and time and effort and all this stuff to go do that. And then I graduate college and I'm like, there, I did what you asked. Now you owe me the $10,000. By the way, like I had to pay for the semester. The semester cost $5,000. We're talking in $90s, whatever. The semester cost $5,000, and I had food and lodging that I would have just, gone and gotten a job. But I did this because you told me to. And then you're like, yeah, screw you.
To explain to your audience, rooted in Nick's example, there is a certain detrimental reliance that you're relying on the promise. And because you relied on the promise, you are now detriment. You're in a worse position than if the promise was never made. So accordingly, there's the contractual theory to say that now creates an obligation on the promisor to fulfill the promise. But here, I mean, so I guess their theory of detrimental reliance is that since you've been paying us this $10 million every year and you made a pledge to give the next year, so in our operating expenses, we were anticipating that this is a real $10 million, not like an Amber Heard type of pledge, but an actual commitment that we relied on somehow that now creates some sort of obligation.
Right, but for charities, that tends to be pretty difficult because charities' entire purpose is to distribute funds that they take in some way. I mean, sure, they have administrative costs and stuff like that, but the idea is like they're in the business of doing this. So unless there is a pledge attached to a specific act that would be particularly burdensome for a charity, in some cases you would say like, we think like a food shelter. Or a food kitchen or something. You say, okay, we visited, we love what you do. We love the service you're doing. You really need to upgrade that kitchen. Not that they come to the donor and say, we want to upgrade our kitchen, but the donor says, I want you to upgrade that kitchen. I'm really concerned about safety and efficiency. I'm going to make sure that you guys can upgrade this kitchen. And I'm going to give you $100,000 to upgrade that kitchen to a state-of-the-art commercial kitchen that'll be safe for your employees, safe for the people that you're serving food to. And then they're like, all right, we're gonna go upgrade that kitchen. And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna write you the check. And then you never do. And they're like, you told us that we weren't gonna upgrade the kitchen. Like that's different than saying we have general donation or general sort of operating expenses and general charity that we do. And you told us we were going to have an extra $100,000. Like, well, you don't. So now you just don't do as much charity because that's the way charity works. Like, if you don't have the funds, you just can't do certain things.
So the only way I can, if I'm trying to make a case on behalf of the plaintiffs here, and try to figure out like a cause of, to find some way to make this a legitimate cause of action, I guess if they can establish that there was some program that they dedicated X number of dollars to because he made a pledge. And they figured, okay, and that pledge, maybe parts of it were earmarked for a certain program. Like, let's say your example, the food kitchen thing, right? Okay, so let's say last Thanksgiving, right? Instead of making food for 100 people, because they knew they had his pledge coming in, they made food for 10,000 people.
But he would have to be aware of their reliance.
That's true. That's
true.
Mean, that would be his defense.
They'd have to have a conversation, say, look, we're looking to up. For Thanksgiving, we want to do 10 times the amount of food that we normally do.
Right.
He's like, yeah, I'm with you. I got you. Like that.
Right. And now he's backing out because of something else that could create a detrimental reliance in theory. But you're right. I think he would have to have knowledge in order for it to be detrimental, or if not direct knowledge, perhaps they could say that he easily should have known that they were relying on it when they were making this investment in X. But So I guess we need more facts here as to figure out
Yeah.
how they're trying to establish the detrimental alliance to support promissory estoppel theory.
And maybe they have it. It's just for a charity in particular, it seems very, very difficult because of the nature of how they do things. To establish that. A lot of people are asking, is this like an Amber Heard pledge? Well, I don't know that this guy had even pledged any money specifically. Like, again, we need a little bit more facts. But my understanding is just that over the years, he has given a huge amount of money. And so they just expected it to keep coming. Now, maybe he had made certain promises for certain obligations, or maybe it was an ongoing obligation, like an ongoing expansion project or something that he was contributing to. Or he says, I need you to serve in this particular community and I'm going to fund that particular community. Maybe those facts will come out and make some sense on it. Although the question would always be, why do you have to maintain this level of spending if you don't have the funds coming in to cover it? And do you make the spending in reliance ahead of time, or do you make the spending after it comes in? And if I'm not mistaken, charitable accounting tends to happen based on the actual operating capital at the end of a year rather than expected donations most of the time, because their requirements, charities are required to distribute something like 4 to 10% of their overall cash value each year. They have an IRS requirement to be a 501c3 to distribute this money, this percentage of money each year. They have to do that. But that's based on the prior year, because you don't know how much to give until you know how much you have. Right. So it would be really hard to justify saying, we gave in reliance on something that's not even accounted for yet in that. But it's an interesting case, but you just reminded me of it with this whole thing, that example. Now we're just tangenting. Duncan, Idaho says, Nick, I'd really appreciate a shout out for my best friend, Matt, 37, father to 2 daughters. Just found out he has cancer. Shit. And could use some help. The GoFundMe is titled Warriors. We call for the aid of Matthew Roberts. Thanks very much, all. A shout out and cheers to Matthew Roberts, being a dad of 2, having a family, having those obligations, and being confronted with a diagnosis is very, very terrifying. And so, prayers for him, his children, his wife, his family, and those who are supporting him. And if you feel compelled to check it out, it's Warriors. We call for the aid of Matthew Roberts on GoFundMe. Check it out, and much hope for a successful and swift resolution to that diagnosis.
Cheers. Amen.
Damn, 37. I hate being confronted with mortality, Joe.
Yeah, we all do.
Like one of my, the other day, one of my classmates died. And I still don't know like what killed her. Her friend just hadn't heard from her in like 3 days or whatever. They talk all the time. So she called a wellness check and the police just found a corpse at the house. And it's like, that's, I don't know if she was 40 or 41, but one of those 2 ages is like, holy shit. Like that's it. You're just done.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying to be reminded that we are not durable.
Yeah, that we're all on a submersible Titan.
You will never catch my ass on a submersible Titan. Jed Templin with a red boy over on Rumble says, a toast, please, for my grandma, Ava Haynes, founder of Mrs. Haynes Moravian Cookies, the company I now run. She passed Thursday, surrounded by 4 generations of the family she made. Hers is an amazing story. And that is an amazing story. Let me get a little bit of Penelope for Grandma Haynes on that one. I got a good toast for this one, I think. I got some good thoughts for this.
All right.
A lot of toasts can be very somber and morose, but a cheers to Ava Haynes, creating a company, but much more important, creating a family and being attended being attended and witnessing 4 generations of your progeny, your offspring, your lineage, your values being passed down, 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 knowing that you've cemented a line of people and thought with values and ethics that sprung from your own. May she have passed peacefully in the knowledge and love that her family would go on. And may those who were there to witness her passing remember her for everything that she was. Great. And forget all of the little mishaps that we have along the way. Cheers to Ava.
Amen. Cheers. That was beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
it's really nice for her that she lived to see her grandchildren taking over her legacy. Like if she builds a company and now he's running it, that's a very heartwarming story where it's like you feel like it's a successful life. You know, you invest in something and you build a family, and that's your part of your legacy, and then your work is your legacy, and to see those two mesh in your progeny is a beautiful thing. So
yeah, and it's a crazy thing that often I stereotypically, because I mean it tends to be this way, you associate professional legacy with men more commonly than women, especially a woman who is venerable enough to have 4 generations attending her passing. You know, that's a rare thing, but anybody who has built something of significant professional value, you know, that they took the time to pour themselves into that project. Exactly what you said. I mean, seeing it pass on prior to your expiration and knowing that it is in capable hands that you raised and grew is fantastic.
Yeah.
So very, very cool to that. Apollo 26 says, hey, Rackets, it's my birthday. Wishing you well. Would love a shout out to my Give, Send, Go. Seriously, anything helps. Okay, I will share it in the chat. I don't know what it is, but I'm sharing it in all 3 chats. The Give, Send, Go for Apollo 26. You guys can check that out if you want. And I'm gonna give you a quick birthday cheers. Happy birthday! A big shout out to you. I hope everything's. What is your Give, Send, Go about? That could be.
He's transitioning. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Yeah. Sorry.
Clearing debt. Well, good luck, brother.
Amen. That's the real transition, to go from the red to the black. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh Jesus! I didn't know natives could turn black.
Best of luck to you, Paul.
Maybe that's just a communist turning to thievery. I love when I know when I drop a joke that Joe's like, that one's a little far.
It took me a second.
One of them.
It took me a second to see just how stinking racist that was.
That was really bad.
That was really, really bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
Sometimes maybe I should think about things I say. All right. Apollo, cheers to you, brother.
It's so typical for me to think about like from the money angle and you to think from the racist angle. This is why we're bringing different angles to both you guys.
It's the German in me. All right, cheers, Apollo. I hope you have a great birthday, and I do hope you have some success in mitigating and eliminating debt, brother.
Amen.
Red Mage 13 says, for Joe, a friend of mine recently made a point about how many of her peers in her late 20s are Jewish like her, but lean left liberal, while she's definitely a conservative. What's your take on this? Yeah, what's with all the damn liberal Jews, Joe? You had one job. Yahweh put you on this earth like Jonah to minister to all the liberal cucked Jewish community. And you're like, I don't want to go to Nineveh. I don't even want to go there. I'm just going to stay in New Jersey. And I'm gonna have my little conservative place, but I'm not gonna fix the lib Jews.
Yeah, I'm gonna get spat out of the mouth of a fish. Okay, so the answer to your question is that they're not really Jews. They're Jews by DNA and often by last name.
No true Jewsman. Holy crap! This is a whole new. logical issue.
but it's logical for them to actually become liberals.
Yeah.
The reason
Right,
it's logical.
because sorry, I'll let you say it.
If you wanted to insert joke there,
No,
sorry.
it wasn't a joke. I was gonna roll with the point, like as a stand-in Jew, but I'll let you actually do it, and then I'll clean up anything you missed.
All right.
Like when we wrote the rest of the books of the Bible.
Right. Thank you. And much obliged for that, because that just brought that right away, just ushered in just all this peace and love just instantly for the whole world. The whole world was so excited when you wrote those
We've
books.
fixed it.
Marching across the world, spreading peace and love. Like that. Thank you for that. Yeah. So. No, to answer, to say what happens is when they don't have religion, and Jews culturally are taught to work hard in school, and
Right.
by and large, they're not stupid, and if you work hard in school and you're not stupid, you're going to rise up. And the American system really worked as far as rewarding those who were intelligent and worked hard. So they made a lot of money. And when you don't have religion, you feel a certain emptiness in your life, because adding another zero, when you have like 8 zeros in the bank, adding another zero onto it doesn't really do that much. When you already have all your needs met, and all you left to do is navel gazing as to like how to spend your time, so you feel a certain sense of emptiness, which is why traditionally irreligious Jews all became real hard liberals. They also are desperate to fit in.
Yeah.
So a religious Jew doesn't really worry about that. In fact, we actually bask in maintaining a certain cloister ghettoism, because we recognize that you can't stay religious and be constantly frittering around in American culture. And you see how your culture is basically devolving. I mean, look at what's happening.
Oh, it's horrific. Yeah.
It's horrific. Right. So basically Orthodox Jews, really religious Jews, recognize that decades ago, long before that. So they always remain cloistered in order to insulate themselves from being influenced in that sort of direction. Whereas in an effort to try, whereas your cultural Jews, the ones who are ginos, Jews in name only, they really wanted to fit in and show, oh, we're going to try and help make things better, and we're going to look out for the less fortunate. And they take a certain arrogance on, and they do have a certain hunger for money, because every rich person has a greater hunger for money than a middle-class person or poor person. Rich people are starved for money, starved for it. The richer you are, the hungrier you are for money. It doesn't,
Right,
you think it goes away.
You want to get the bigger yacht.
Yes. And you get bothered that someone else has a bigger yacht. So
the other thing, because I know some people, like I'm well off. Don't get me wrong. I know some people who are very wealthy, like to the levels of like hard to imagine wealth. And one thing you see when you hang around them is that money never solved your basic problems. Like you think it will, because you're like, oh, I'll be debt free. Oh, I won't have to worry about what I buy. Oh, I can have the car I want. Oh, I can have the house I want. I can live wherever. I can travel. I can have all the food. I don't have to worry about my kids going to college. Like all those needs or perceived needs get met. And yet all of the problems that you deal with as a human don't actually leave you. Like, wealthy people still have problems with addiction. They still have problems with relationships. They still have problems with loneliness or emptiness or a lack of fulfillment or a lack of achievement and accomplishment. Those are human condition problems. And they just hoped that if they made a little bit more money, it would get plugged, and then it didn't get plugged. Like all they could do is just go to the grocery store without worrying about it. And they're like, well, that wasn't that important. I've been able to go to the grocery store without worrying about it 2 zeros ago.
Right.
But maybe if I just get here, then I'll feel that achievement. Then I'll feel that fulfillment. And that's why it creates this this need to grow and grow and grow is eventually it will be enough, but it never is. Like it won't ever solve those internal issues, the human issues in your relationships, in your family. Like your kids not liking you isn't because you don't have enough money or do have enough money. Like your kids not liking you is because of your interactions with your kids and their attitudes and cultural influences.
because you're plastic. But I'll tell you something. Like with respect to serving a role of being Jonah, I know that was said in jest, but with respect to they hate me more than they would hate anyone who's not Jewish. Like because the Orthodox Jews rub them completely raw. Because we're basically they look at Orthodox Judaism as something that's impossible to keep. And that's why like God doesn't obviously expect that of them, like to keep kosher, like that's impossible. Like how can anyone actually live by that? To actually, not eat any sort of leavened products for 8 days on Passover? That sounds crazy. To shut down your phone for 26 hours every week? That sounds insane.
Not stream on Friday nights? That's
right, exactly. Right, exactly. So to them, there's a certain cognitive dissonance that they're like, I can reject all of that stuff and pretend it's all made up, and that's why seeing a group of people who actually respect it, we stand in opposition to that mindset, and that's something that it turns their stomach and revolts them. So I'm the last person that a Gino is likely to be swayed by, because my existence nauseates him more than it'll nauseate the worst KKK person. There's a certain self-hatred. There's a certain self-hatred and resentment about the fact that they also don't want to be associated with those backward, ancient thinking Jews. That's another part of it also.
So the interesting thing is Christians have a parallel concept in the New Testament. And my church happens to be going through it right now. And I was annoyed initially because of where the pastor was taking it, because I don't think he was grasping the correct message. It's the book is 1 Peter. It's a pretty short book, but I don't think he was grasping the correct message, but that's irrelevant to the actual message of Peter. Peter was writing to a unique kind of brand of Christians at the time. They were in what would now be known as Turkey, and they were in a society that tolerated Christianity. Like it was not illegal to be Christian at the time. It was not like you couldn't be arrested for it, jailed, or exiled, but people individually did not tolerate individual Christians. And so they would harass them. They would beat them in the streets. Sometimes they would berate them for not participating in their pagan lifestyles. Right. So the interesting thing was Peter was encouraging people to be blameless under the law, but also to uphold their Christianity and stick true to their values. Now, the problems with how my pastor was describing it was he was trying to compare it to America. And
the way you just said it sounded very comparable to what the founders were laying out there, like freedom of religion.
Yeah, right. But now he was trying to compare it to modern America, saying Christians are persecuted for being Christian. Christians aren't persecuted for being Christian, in my opinion. Christians are persecuted for espousing Christian values into the public sector and trying to propagate those values, which we as Americans absolutely have a right to do. Right. We have a participatory government. They didn't have that in Turkey. They're very different systems. I want to be very clear on that. But the idea of Peter, when you read into it, was literally comply with law, bow to government, very un-American ideas, bow to government, bow to every authority, because when they hit you, when they denigrate you, it should only be because of your belief in Christ, not for your action. Your refusal to participate in society's actions, not your shirking of the law, not your advocating against it, just your polite, peaceful refusal. And so the interesting thing there is what you said, that non-Orthodox Jews who tend to be more liberal are in this place where they're not just being kosher. They're not just observing these Jewish traditions and laws. They're actually conforming to society in an effort to fit in. And so the interesting thing is they're not being blameless. They are engaging in things like greed and stuff like that, the way society does. So when people criticize them, it's never just on their Judaism, right? And I find it's interesting that it, well, I shouldn't say it's never.
Which why it's funny. It's funny that they tend to like basically put the Jew cape on. I get so angry. I've ranted way too many times about, you know, these irreligious Jews, and no one would even know that they're Jewish, but for their last name sometimes, and often not even with their last name. They could have a last name of, like, you know, Livingston, and they're still like saying like, you're being anti-Semitic, or this is offensive to me as a Jew. It's like all of a sudden, as soon as someone on the right says something, they just start freaking out that this is anti-Semitism, when no one gave a damn about the fact that they were Jewish. No one cared about it, but they're just trying to find their little niche form of being a virtue by dint of oppression, and it's, to me, it's revolting. Because there are incidents of actual anti-Semitism out there, but it basically gets cloaked under these empty claims of anti-Semitism, and that just makes legitimate claims drowned out in all the wolf crying and wolf, 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 wolf. So if it actually does happen, it's like no one's going to listen, because it's just, you know, someone screaming it all over again because of those empty cries that kept being, you know, called out by the left on all these stupid occasions.
Right. And when those empty cries are even tied, especially when they're tied to despicable behavior, and it's like, oh, it's just because I'm Jewish. It's like, well, no, it's because
like
it's
the George Soros thing. No one gives a damn that he's Jewish. I mean, that guy was a schmuck. He's an evil, terrible human being, like, who even when he had any sort of semblance of Judaism to him, he was raping Jews of their wealth. He was a terrible human being. He was a Nazi collaborator who enriched himself at the literal blood and death of other Jews while raiding their corpses while the bodies were still warm. And then people stand up and say to attack him as anti-Semitic. Hell no. That no one's attacking him because he's Jewish. They're attacking him because the guy is maniacally evil.
Right. And that's the trick. And so I just found it, this complete side point, but I just found it interesting, the parallels to what you're talking about with Orthodox Judaism and what Peter's talking about in First Peter, and how a lot of Christians today perceive things, because there are Christians who perceive an anti-Christian bias. And that is true. There is amongst society an anti-Christian bias, and Christians are they're not legally persecuted in the ways we think about, but they're societally punished for their Christian values. But then they're
mocked for having any belief in God.
Right. But then there's another set of Christians who go out and, like, I'm gonna be very hyperbolic here, but like Westboro Baptist, right? You go to a rally with a big sign, it's very inflammatory, and it's like you have a sign that says God hates figs or whatever, and then they're like, we're being mocked for our Christianity. It's like, well, that's not really what Peter was talking about. Like, he didn't say take a giant sign to a protest and like overtly decry the other person's life, like the pagan lifestyle, as evil and horrific and satanic. He just said, you just live under the law and you just don't be a gay. Like, don't be a gay. But he doesn't say go decry or ridicule the gays. He's like, you just don't be one. And then when they hate you, it will be evident that they hate you because of your belief in Christ, or in the case of Jews, belief in Yahweh and your adherence to the law. That's what they're hating, not because you said something very inflammatory that invited that sort of retorting criticism. And I think that was my problem with what the pastor was saying. But I'm like this, Joe, in all things. If I go to a thing where someone is teaching me something, I immediately go into retort mode. Like, I'm like, no, I don't even want to hear your stupid take. So what I did this Sunday, which is very hard for me, is I didn't do that. I just sat and took notes on what was said. And I said, okay, how can I derive learning from this despite my
disagreement with the message?
Well, my incessant need to be disagreeable, right? Like, and so I'm like really trying to do that, because even if I disagree with the message, there's still value there, and valued perspective, and my perspective could be incorrect, of course, right? Like, have to do that. But oh my God, it's tough when you're a narcissistic piece of garbage. Tyrant's Blood says, call me a conspiracy theorist. I think this might have been orchestrated by Putin to weed out traitors in Russia, especially since the dude didn't get any charges in what is considered a dictatorship.
I had the same thought. I'll tell you, I was like,
Yep.
if you heard that call from Prezhvikin to join them in the coup and you joined him, you're an idiot, because that sounds like a classic Glowy move, that he's the head Glowy working for him. He's like, let's see who's willing to like turn on us, and that every one of the, and then perhaps he's not going to get prosecuted, but everyone who signed up is basically the sucker who followed the Fed, but in Russian terms. So it's like the sucker who followed the KGB guy.
Yeah, and
very possible.
It looked very shifty to me, but again, I don't trust any information out of anything. Like that thing will resolve itself however billionaires want it to resolve at the end. And Congress will take all our money in the meanwhile, and then they will use any military actions or any reactions to Russian aggression to justify some sort of thing that will eventually come down to spying on Americans. Because that's what they do literally every time. Not most of the time, not some of the time, literally every time there is any sort of U.S. intervention in foreign conflict, what happens ultimately is that something comes down the pipe for the purpose of surveilling Americans later on in the quest against drugs or hate speech or something online. It will always disseminate down to that and will result in less freedom for us. And so I don't fucking care what is happening in Russia and Ukraine, because all I'm waiting for is Congress to pass a law that will somehow impact me on behalf of my own safety 10 years from now, like we saw with the Patriot Act, basically making banking a fucking nightmare.
But you just inspired a thought in me that I never had until you just went on that short little rant.
Oh, okay.
And that was this, so many Americans today, and I'm sure many people in your audience, like, feel dejected and worthless, or lacking in inspiration or aspiration, and a feeling of hopelessness, and a lack of feeling of self-worth. That's what I think plagues Americans, perhaps more than any other mental, emotional disease, is that feeling of a lack of self-worth.
Sure.
And if you happen to be one of these people, just recognize this. The Russians are constantly spying on us. They care about you. The Chinese are constantly spying on us. They care about you. They care what's going through your mind. They're valuing you by displaying that they're going through all these leaps and hurdles to make TikTok and to try and influence you, because they recognize your value, and your own government recognizes your potential and your value. You have the entire world staring at American citizens and saying, we care about, to the extent possible, influencing them because they recognize your greatness and your potential. It's not like no one's spying on Iranian citizens, on Kuwaiti citizens. No one's spying on Japanese citizens. It's always American citizens. It seems to have all the world powers are constantly trying to influence us, whether it's foreign world powers or our own mighty American government. So just think about that the next time you think that you have no worth, because basically the most powerful entities on earth feel that you have a great deal of worth and potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Just remember, when you think no one wants to pay attention to you because you're such a loser piece of shit, your government is always watching you.
Yeah. Why do they care? Why do they care so much?
Exactly.
If you really were nobody, if you were nothing, it's like no one worries about what the loser in school is doing. Everyone wants to know what the cool kids are up to.
You should be watching the loser. That guy might come with a gun.
That's true.
Yeah. But speaking of, how you can stop being a loser in school, Joe? There's a dedicated.
Tell me how. How can I become less of a loser at school?
Simple. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code NOSE. Stop being a little bitch. Get your Field of Greens. Get your nutrition. Build your immune system. Build your overall health. Get better muscle definition. A larger penis, not FDA approved. But you know what? You can get everything. Cure cancer and everything.
Not FDA approved. So.
Well, I mean, they just have not verified it because they cut all theirs off, right? They work for the FDA, so they don't know if it'll actually grow if you drink Field of Greens. But I will tell you that the Field of Greens CEO called me specifically and definitely 100% says that this will grow your penis 9 inches. And then you can no longer be scared of black men stealing your girlfriends because you will finally be able to compete in the bedroom as a flaccid white man. That's what the CEO of Field of Greens actually 100% without a single hint of joke or irony called me and said their product actually does. So you just get some water, you drop a scoop of Field of Greens in, and it's fruits and vegetables. It's literally all it is. Organic fruit, organic vegetables, grown up, dried, ground up, and you put it in liquid to help deliver it into your body and most importantly into your penis tissue. So there you go.
Buy Field of Greens. You want to be a loser your whole life, or you want to actually be cool? Drink Field of Greens. You want to keep striking out with women? No. Get Field of Dreams. You want to be screaming, I didn't want him arrested? No? Well, then drink Field of Greens, for crying out loud. How many times I got to tell you this?
So guys, check it out. Use promo code NOSE. Look, it's just about promoting your overall health through basic. Whoops.
That's all right.
Damn it. Through the basics of the idea of eating a balanced diet. Not all of us have time to cook vegetables or consume fruits because they go bad in your fridge. If you're on the go all the time, you just may not get around to them. You may not stock them as much, and you may not want to cook them. Like me, I just kind of want to cook a steak. Like I want to cook a steak and eat that. I don't always want to like saute up vegetables. I know they're delicious. I love vegetables, but I don't always want to do it. It's extra work. So Field of Greens is a great way. Each drink is 1 serving of fruit, 1 serving of vegetables, and 1 inch of penile length. So with that, thank you to them as sponsors of the show. If the FDA comes after you, it wasn't my fault. You told me to say it. And then let's do the rest of the chats here on YouTube, and we'll move over to Rumble.
Do it.
So Grifty says, God damn it, you're on time. What the fuck is this? New rackets? Take my money. Luis Cueva says there are 2 good and natural reasons to bring back Megan Fox. Jane Doe. Megan Fox is always welcome on the channel if we have something to talk about. I think she's genuinely a great person. Love talking to her. And we vibe very well on topics, views, and everything. Jane Doe says, I need a fat shaming / alarm, please. My ex now works at the gym I was going to, and I still need to lose a lot to hit my goal weight before my sister's wedding. I needed to set a get thin anyway. Get thin anyway, bitch. Alarm ASAP. Okay, Jane Doe. I got you. Jane Doe. Get thin, bitch. Get thin, bitch. Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, you're gonna waddle around like some sort of walrus? Yeah. Some sort of walrus walking, if you even can, rather than sliding your giant distended belly across the floor of the gym while your ex laughs. Your ex laughs in getting that more attractive, thinner trim than you. He just like, look at what I left behind. I shed all that dead weight, and now it's dragging, leaving a snail trail of sweat and putrefied flesh across the floor. Absolutely disgusting, gross, embarrassing, and unacceptable. You should be able to tell your ex to fuck off as he realizes the mistake he made, because you finally, I'm not even going to say became attractive, just return to your human shape. You were crafted by God in his image, but you ate so much Kraft mac and cheese that you turned that image into abstract, disgusting art. And it is embarrassing. So find the treadmill at the gym if you can. Hire a little running midget to sit in front of you and hold your belly up while he trots ahead of you on the treadmill. And for God's sake, lose that weight. And never forget, the most important part of weight loss is this: no matter what anybody tells you, and yes, this is medical advice, stop eating so much food. Boy, I only have 1 meal a day. No, you don't. Stop lying to me. I don't care. Stop lying to yourself. You do. Stop eating so much food. It is 90% diet. The gym will help you tone those things up. But if you want to cut that off, Stop eating. Stop it, Jane. Stop eating. And go get your goals, girl. Get it. Go get your goals. Joseph De Martino says gender dysphoria is spread by social media, like eating Tide Pods. Drop Barracuda. Here's a potential dark twist. The guy may not have been worried about the man being arrested, but maybe he was afraid of being canceled socially. Yeah, that was the guy getting arrested earlier. Someone else said, how do we know he didn't want the cops to come shoot him rather than arrest him? Good point. Good point. He was black. Maybe he wanted him shot. Maybe he just wanted a knee on the neck. Joseph DeMartino says Gosney will finish his 4th book before the stream ends. Steve Gosney says, if you want to bring my 4th book to life, Brucey, the one-eyed wonder dog, go to my Give, Send, Go here. Jesus Sevilla, thumbs up. A socialist thumbs up as always. Candace Strike says, pre-Gozin, he is not a general, but a civilian and a businessman. He was the face of Wagner and apparently got...
Oh, that's the name of the Russian general, Prigozhin.
Prigozhin. Sounds like a...
Prigozhin. That's what it is.
It sounds like a fertility medication.
It does. It definitely sounds
Isn't one of those like prednisone or something?
It's like, oh, that's the yellow pill.
Yeah, Adrian Angevine says, gentlemen, it's pronounced Moscow. My mother always told me to remember there are no cows in Moscow. Love you both. Look, I don't speak Russian and won't. I don't capitulate to commies. Billy Hatcher 643 says, did you hear that Elon's mom canceled the fight with the Zuckerbot 9000? Also, what do you think about AI Sponge? No, I didn't hear that Elon's mom canceled the fight. I don't know why she'd be able to, but that being said, I don't know what AI Sponge is. What is that?
Contraceptive?
Probably. Joseph DeMartino says, Nick should have been on Joe's Happy Show last night. I know. Drop Barracuda says, so we're to believe they're Jew-ish?
Yes, they are all George Santos.
Helena says, would you agree that Jewish people who lean liberal also have more of a tendency to be agnostic when it comes to religion?
Yeah,
I think that's what that was your main sort of
definitely.
point.
Yeah.
That they're ignoring their religious roots. She is Lump says, my friend's 1-year-old son was diagnosed with cancer. He's had an arm amputated and is still receiving chemo. Can you please make a shout out to her GoFundMe, Atlas Through His Cancer Journey? Guys, check out Atlas Through His Cancer Journey, a 1-year-old going through a horrific illness that has apparently wrought some havoc on his body already. May he be cured and restored to whatever wholeness he is able to. Cheers to him. And my God.
Amen. My God.
Bad Dragonite says, apparently OceanGate immediately posted a help wanted ad for a subpilot. Quote, a candidate with a good sense of humor that can work in a confined space. Yeah, I actually, I talked about that with Camelot on Friday's stream. So pretty funny job posting while they were allegedly still looking for the people. Francisco Linares says, hey, Nick, make Joe tell us the secret to Jew money. What is the secret to Jew money?
He sends me that chat every day.
Well, what's the secret?
He's like, I tell him that part of the secret to Jew money is you can't send a $2 super chat. Don't give up the secret to Jew money for $2.
Well, I never would. I mean,
that's part of it.
Maybe for $100, $200, give you the secrets.
You call me.
Bad Dragonite says, meanwhile, I bet if Joe Schmo gets $1,000 extra back on his tax return, then hell hath no fury like the IRS. Angry Yeti TV says, is Field of Greens retroactive? I've been out of school for almost 20 years, but it would be nice to not have been a loser back then. Yes. No, it is. It absolutely gonna go back in time. Endorsed by Huey Lewis in the News. Renegade Shuriken says, wish me luck. Wife insisted on getting a gym membership together and starting tonight, hoping to not be a minor fat anymore. And she wants to more sexy. I think to be more sexy or to more sexy you. I'm not sure.
Could be either one.
Dude, engaging on the journey of like weight loss and muscle growth and stuff with your spouse is way awesome because you guys get to do that together. And when you both have that goal, it's more fun than one of you having the goal and like the other one being a fat, but benefiting from like your efforts or you being a fat and benefiting from theirs. So go get it. Plus you have a motivator with you when you don't feel well and they have a motivator when they don't. So it's great to have that built-in partnership. Also, throw all the chocolate in your house away. Get rid of it. All right. With that, let's get off of YouTube. Let's go to Rumble.
Let's go.
We're going to do that. 20-second little audio stinger here, and then we'll see you guys on Rumble. The link is pinned in the chat. It's also in the description of the YouTube. Thank you for hanging out with us on YouTube. And the Rumble Show kicks off. I mean, it's already been going. We got 9,000 people watching on Rumble.
Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I didn't know that there were like 9,000. I don't know if I've ever talked. That's awesome.
So make sure you join them over on Rumble, and we'll see you on YouTube again tomorrow. And until next time, guys, peace. Peace.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen,